This raid never should have happened.
South Korea investigating whether its workers had human rights violations during an immigration raid at a Hyundai plant in Georgia.
Some of those workers that say they never want to come back to the U.S. after being treated like, quote, criminals. Cook says he thinks the fallout over this will be massive.
This is bad.
안녕하세요, 원다입니다. 미국 조지아주 현대 LG 합작 공장에서 일어났던 한국인 근로자 체포와 구금은 그들에게 끔찍한 기억과 깊은 상처를 남겼을 뿐만 아니라 국민 모두에게 씻을 수 없는 모욕감을 안겨줬는데요. 한국 내 악화된 여론과 점점 심각해지는 상황을 의식한 트럼프가 뒤늦게 어설픈 유화 메시지를 내고 미국 국무부 2인자 크리스토퍼 랜다우를 통해 깊은 유감의 뜻을 밝혔지만 미국은 아직 제대로 된 사과를 하지 않고 있죠. 이에 많은 이들은 한국인 근로자들을 중범죄자 취급하고 그들의 인권을 유린하고 침해한 미국에게 제대로 된 사과와 보상을 받아야 다시는 이런 일이 반복되지 않을 것이라며 확실히 조사하고 시시비비를 가려야 함을 강조하고 있는데요. 심지어 미국인들조차도 이런 일을 벌인 현 미국 정부가 이 사태에 대해 책임져야 한다는 목소리를 내고 있습니다.
This raid never should have happened.
South Korea investigating whether its workers had human rights violations during an immigration raid at a Hyundai plant in Georgia not too long ago here in the U.S. Remember, that's when more than about 300 South Koreans were detained. NBC News has reached out to ICE, which referred us to the White House. No comment from them yet.
According to BBC, South Korea is now opening an investigation into the United States and possible human rights violations after more than 300 workers detained at the Hyundai LG battery factory raid last week were held in squalid conditions, shackled for hours, denied representation, and had their due process infringed upon.
When I looked outside, I saw agents running around with guns. There were armored vehicles and even a helicopter above. The scariest part was when the ICE agents with guns suddenly burst into the office and told us to come out. I panicked and went completely blank. I felt sick.
We've seen the videos of the workers in handcuffs and in chains. Is this what they did to you?
Yes. One by one, we were cuffed at the wrists, then chained at the waist, and shackled at the ankles. Then we were put on a bus. I couldn't understand why we were being treated this way.
How did they treat you when you got to the detention center?
They put us in a room with about 60 to 70 people and locked the door behind us. I had a panic attack. I just stood there, trembling.
What was it like sleeping there on your first night?
The room was very cold. We weren't even given blankets for 2 days. I was wearing a short-sleeved t-shirt, so I put my arms inside my clothes and wrapped myself in a towel to try to stay warm.
Talking to you about this now, I sense that you still find this very difficult to talk about, that you're still in a lot of shock.
That's right. When I first saw my family at the airport, I smiled and hugged them, but I couldn't feel anything. It was like I was hollow inside. It wasn't until my mom cooked me dinner that night that it really hit me, and I cried for the first time. And these days, when I'm outside, if I smell something similar to the prison, I start trembling and get short of breath, so I don't stay out for long.
You were in the States on a visa waiver, on an ESTA, which allows you to have business meetings. But do you think in any way you overstepped the terms of your visa?
No, never. I only attended meetings and gave training presentations. That's all. So I never thought I was doing anything illegal. Honestly, my trust in the US has been deeply shaken. I'll probably have to go there again for work, but I'll definitely avoid Georgia if I can.
They're getting ready to sue the United States government for human rights violations. We all saw them get chained and handcuffed, right? But what we didn't see is what happened to them after that. ICE took their belongings and their clothes, made them have their mug shots taken. 70 people to a cell, only a few toilets and showers. They ate in the cells in front of the toilets with no knives or forks because they're violent criminals, right? They were treating them like rapists and murderers. They felt that the food was expired. The lights were on at all times. They didn't sleep, and they were not given their medications. That could have been deadly. Foreign citizens who were invited here by the U.S. government who die in the custody of the U.S. government, a very bad thing. The detainees reported that the staff was very poorly trained. People that are working there are not good people. They made fun of their eyes. They made fun of their language. They called the detainees Kim Jong-un. That's North Korea. This is so embarrassing. These people are the dumbest pieces of trash that America has to offer. and they're representing all of us. Here's some quotes, direct quotes from either the detainees or their family members. One of their moms said, "My son has been to 10 different countries with Hyundai and has never been treated this way. The South Korean government feels incredibly disrespected and has told LG and Hyundai employees to come back to Korea. They've said if you want to learn from us, come to Korea and learn Korean. The U.S. is on the verge of a civil war. Thanks, MAGA. It's not worth the investment anymore. They're going to wait and come back when he's gone. Worst case scenario, they move everything to Canada and Mexico." The local news in Georgia and the governor of Georgia aren't talking about it. We don't know if they're afraid of Trump or what, but it's very bizarre. There's no logic. They want jobs, but they arrested the people who were creating jobs for them. Donald Trump is trying to walk this back. He's saying things like, "I want them to bring their expertise and teach our people." That's what they were doing. How did you not know that? You are the president of the United States. How did you not know? If this had happened under any other administration, Tom Homan, Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem, the people who filled those positions would have already been fired. This was a massive screw up. This is huge and it's being overshadowed. So we need to be talking about it.
This comes on the back of Hyundai now saying that that factory is delayed at least 2 months, if not indefinitely, while they work to try to find new workers that are willing to come to the United States and have the required skills to train the workforce here. An additional 22 proposed work sites by South Korean companies across the United States have been postponed. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump is on Truth Social yesterday, Sunday, begging additional companies and countries to come to the United States and teach U.S. workers skills such as shipbuilding, chip manufacturing, and a variety of other highly technical jobs.
Construction at the Hyundai megasite battery plant is on hold. The HLGA battery company says work will resume, but an immigration lawyer representing several detained workers says his clients don't want to return.
What he told me is he thinks that the battery plant's plan to resume at the first half of 2026 is, quote, too optimistic. And that's because he's been speaking to his clients, some of those workers that say they never want to come back to the U.S. after being treated like, quote, criminals.
It was a surprise to everybody.
Atlanta-based immigration lawyer Charles Cook said when he saw headlines of the raid come out, he did not expect the group of people ICE went after. Many skilled technicians from South Korea brought over to set up critical infrastructure at the HLGA battery plant.
2 of whom had literally arrived from Korea on Wednesday night and were literally sitting in an office in the front room with a tie, coat, and a hard hat on because it's a construction site, waiting for a meeting to start.
He says he wasn't able to speak to his clients for days while they were in the Folkestone Detention Center, over an hour away from where the megasite is located.
The first 3 days, they were in basically a barracks type facility.
South Korea is one of the U.S.'s top trading partners, investing billions in the U.S. manufacturing sector. Their foreign minister meeting in Washington, D.C. to strongly condemn the raid. President Trump saying his team is looking into the, quote, very interesting situation where he thinks they should be allowed back in order to, quote, train American workers. Cook says he thinks the fallout over this will be massive.
This is bad. I've talked to a lot of Korean media on this, as well as the folks that work with the company. Expect a pullback of future investments, at least during the Trump administration, or at least until Congress can actually create a visa for this.
And as for those South Korean workers, 300 plus of them, they did travel back to their country of origin on a chartered plane. And the rest of them that were not South Korean, they're still being held at the Folkestone Detention Center. And that's according to the Department of Homeland Security that I spoke to today.
These people were at work. Oh, but they weren't allowed to work. Oh, God, heaven forbid somebody that's not allowed to work is actually contributing to the United States economy. Oh, God. What a horrible thing to happen. And you're like, but they were here illegally. 475 people, including some from South Korea, because it's a South Korean company, that were just over here on business. They were checking out the plant that was being built to make sure everything was going along properly. They were here legally. They were here on a business trip, and they got arrested because ICE doesn't differentiate. ICE doesn't do their homework. They don't do their background checks. They say, holy crap, you don't look like a pasty white man. I'm going to lock you up. Come with me. I don't want to hear your excuses. I don't even want to see your papers. Get in the car and let's take you to our little concentration camps. Trump even told us about these workers that were arrested in Georgia. He said, quote, "We had, as I understand, a lot of illegal aliens, some not the best people, but we had a lot of illegal aliens working there." These were not criminals. Almost all of them, by the way, were from South Korea. They were working, helping the United States as part of an investment agreement that South Korea has with the United States. They're fucking doing it with their people, which they're entitled to, and he sends federal agents down there to arrest them. But these were not criminals. What the fuck is going on? You got what you wanted from that country, and you did this anyway. I hope South Korea pulls out. Scrap the plans. Get rid of the plant.
Something is wrong with America. Lutnick keeps asking for more cash. Who does that? Asks for straight cash. That's so weird. They've asked for 20% of South Korea's GDP. Koreans make their own weapons now. And people in Korea want to build their own nuclear weapons so that they don't have to depend on America anymore.
동맹을 향한 트럼프 정부의 날강도 깡패 지사에 많은 나라들이 실망을 넘어 분노를 느끼며 미국에 등을 돌리고 있는데요. 그중 대표적인 나라가 캐나다죠.
They're taking away my car, and now I can't drive, and I don't know what to do. I'm in Georgia.
Pretty upset, understandably. That's Emily Neild, who calls her arrest last month the most horrendous incident of her life.
She saw my license and she said, "This is not valid." And I was like, "No, my license has not been expired or anything like that." She's like, "No, this is a Canadian driver's license. How do I know if you are actually Canadian or if this is a forgery? Canadian licenses aren't accepted in the state of Georgia." I did have more forms of ID. I had my OHIP card on me, but my passport, I don't keep it on me when I'm traveling. I had a copy of it along with a copy of my birth certificate and Nexus card all on my phone, but she did not want to see any of those. She promptly told me that I was now under arrest. I could not drive in the state of Georgia and that my car had to be impounded. So she put handcuffs on me, frisked me, and put me in the back of her police car.
And then she took you where?
She took me straight to jail.
To jail?
Yes, to jail, in which I was processed, booked, fingerprinted, mugshot, had to wear orange, the whole shebang, and I was in jail and forced to pay a bail to get out.
There are multiple reports of other Canadians stopped and arrested for not having their passports who were kept in a U.S. jail for a week. The stories have disgusted and horrified Canadians, and as the rage in Canada grows, Donald Trump keeps adding fuel to the fire. He recently depicted Canadian leaders and negotiators as more difficult to deal with than America's fiercest enemies.
One of the nastiest countries to deal with is Canada. The people that, now this was Trudeau, the people that good old Justin, I call him Governor Trudeau, his people were nasty.
So the Canadian boycott of all things related to the United States is growing. Canadians have been taking action for months. On the heels of Trump taunts about Canada becoming a U.S. state, denigrating comments about Canadian leaders, tariffs, and talk by Trump about redrawing the U.S.-Canadian border, investors around the globe are also abandoning the United States. Sales of most U.S. products in Canada have nearly disappeared.
There's 40 million Canadians that are ramped up, literally going down retail shopping aisles, looking to see what's made in Canada, what's made in the U.S.
Canadians are also refusing to visit the United States and spend any tourist money here.
It's affecting at least 90% of my business.
Are you saying you've had 90% of your business canceled this year?
Easily. This is every registration card from last year. This is the Canadian. That's my American. This just went away.
That's all you got now. That doesn't pay the bills.
It does not. You got to take into the fact how the Canadians perceive this, and they are incredibly pissed off.
I definitely will not be coming to the United States unless things change. Probably not until Trump is out of administration. He's a threat to us, and he's a threat to so many other countries in the world that we value.
And with every new tariff that Trump imposes on Canada, Canadian leaders are hitting back.
That's the last thing we want to do, especially with turbulent times happening around the world. You have to stick together. We're part of the family, as we believe, for 200 years, and I know a lot of Americans feel the same way. We're there to support our greatest friends and allies. We'll always be there, but we can't be under attack by one person.
And the attacks on Canada from Trump keep coming. So Canadians are putting their elbows up, to use a hockey phrase, for fighting. The only question seems to be whether U.S. businesses, corporations, and consumers stung by the Canadian boycotts and reeling under the Trump economy can somehow convince Donald Trump and his Republican enablers to back off.
잠시 안내드리겠습니다. 지난번 원더 채널에서 진행했던 백진삼 행사에서 많은 분들이 폭발적인 반응을 보여주셨는데요. 섭취 후 휴가를 보신 분들이 추석 행사로 진행할 수 없냐는 문의를 정말 많이 하셔서 휴가 물량을 확보, 한 번 더 최저가로 구매할 수 있게 준비를 마쳤습니다. 백진삼은 자연산삼의 DNA를 99% 동일하게 복제해서 150년 이상 된 감정가가 3억 원인 자연산삼을 먹는 것과 같은 효능을 담아낸 제품으로 한 포당 진세너사이드가 무려 81mg이나 들어있습니다. 그래서 그 어떤 제품보다도 그 효과가 탁월한데요. 백진삼 공식 홈페이지에는 이미 이 효과를 경험한 8,000개 이상의 후기들이 올라와 있으며 7일 이내 효과가 없을 시 100% 환불이라는 조건을 내걸고 있는 만큼 엄청난 자신감으로 무장한 제품입니다. 특히 몸에 좋은 성분이 최대한 체내에 흡수될 수 있도록 스위스 제네바 국제신기술에서 금상을 수여한 나노 공법으로 제작되어 그 어떤 제품과도 비교할 수 없는 효과를 나타내고 있는데요. 이 백진삼은 남녀노소 모두가 먹을 수 있는 제품으로 인터넷 최저가보다도 훨씬 저렴한 129,900원에 제공하고 있으며 3+1, 5+2, 7+3 혜택으로 더 많이 구매하실수록 더 저렴해집니다. 관심이 있으신 분은 고정 댓글에 있는 링크로 들어가셔서 상세한 상품 설명과 후기들을 읽어보시고 구매하시기 바랍니다. 시청해주셔서 감사합니다. 원다였습니다.